Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Beth and this is Spiral Path Arts, and today we're back in the front room, the sewing room / guest room, and I'm working on a little sewing project. And I did another sewing project earlier in the week that I didn't share with you, but I'm wearing it, so I'm going to show you. Let me stand and give you a little fashion show in my own way. This is another version of the Sew Liberated studio tunic, and this is some plaid. It's an acrylic plaid, not a wool, that has been in my stash for a number of years. I bought it to make a skirt for work, never made it, and glad I didn't, because I am going to wear it as this little jumper way more than I would as a little A-line skirt. So I love this pattern. I did the yoke on the bias to give it a little interest, as I did the pockets. Also, a modification I made to this pattern is that I don't put the center seam in the front piece. And a commenter pointed out why it is drafted that way, and that's because this pattern is lovely in that it goes up to, it's very size inclusive. It goes up to some very nice large sizes for lots of different sized bodies, and the center seam allows that to not have to be redrafted. And so, chef's kiss, wonderful design, thoughtfulness. And I have made this pattern before, so I didn't share it again. I make a few modifications to the way the instructions on the pattern are. And this is one thing I love about Sew Liberated patterns, but also something with my sewing experience, I've learned to just, if I take what I want and leave behind what I don't. And in this, like for instance, this pattern drafted, designed, and the instructions use almost all French seams. Well, I didn't want to use French seams on this fabric because they would have been too bulky. So I did what I always do. I serged, overlocked with my serger the raw edges so it didn't fray, and then sewed it normal seams pressed open. But let me show you what I'm doing today. Now, this fabric, it's behind me, is it's an outdoor fabric, you know, like an awning fabric or a cushion fabric for, oops, there's also some wool gabardine that I was going to make another jumper out of, but there's not quite enough fabric there for it, so it's still out. It'll become something. Anyway, this fabric, I have an 80 yard roll of this fabric, and 3 other colors of this fabric. Those aren't 80 yard rolls, although the one might be. But anyway, the story behind them, I have video that I took the day that I got this fabric, but I never shared with you because the story never quite continued the way I thought it would. But anyway, the very short version of how I acquired this. My friend here in Selma who has I have 2 friends here in Selma who have Airbnbs, but one of my friends who has an Airbnb is hosting some people who are in the business of liquidating defunct businesses. And near here, over Old Craig Air Force Base, was a company that had closed that manufactured like outdoor chair cushions and cushion covers. And they were going out of business. And so myself and a few others were invited over to go through the factory and buy at bargain basement prices any of the items, the fabrics and things that were there. So I got 4 different huge rolls of fabric. A couple of them are partial rolls, were almost gone, but enough to make some cushions and things. But this ticking fabric, I got the whole roll, 80 yards. And then I also got 2 reels of cording. I'm not sure, this is a very thin cording. I don't think I can do the rope bowls, at least with this one. The other one that's over in the corner, I haven't looked at closer. But this isn't marked how many yards, but it's a lot. I can't read the scribbles that are on here, and I don't think they're actually So, ouch. I can make welted, corded cushions for days. I have plans for the other fabric, but what I'm making out of this today is Cass, my dog, 14 and a half years old. He has a big bed in the blue room, in the lounge where we hang out all the time. And I think I got it for him like a year ago, or maybe like Christmas 2022. But it's a nice, big, thick, cushy bed. It's got like fleecy velour covering on it. Well, he's old and he's a smelly dog, but sometimes he not only is a smelly dog, but he has some, he's losing some control, and it's sad, but I wake up in the morning sometimes and he's pottied in his bed. So I am constantly taking the cover off his bed and laundering it and putting it back on. And I thought to myself the other day, well, I would really like to have a second, or maybe make 2 more covers for that bed, so that when I take one off, I can just put the other one on. And I don't have any fleece or denim or anything like that I would make the bed cover out of. And I'm like, you have 80 yards of this stuff. Granted, it's not soft and fluffy, but it's very water resistant. Now, fortunately, he is not tinkling in his sleep yet, but he's old. It'll happen, I'm sure. Water resistant. And because it's not plushy, his hair doesn't get stuck in it. So very easy to clean and launder and things. Right now, I'm just going to make 1 for him. And because I have 80 yards of this stuff, I could make 1 for every dog in the county. But yeah, I'm not going to, again, not a tutorial, not going to take you through, but I'll give you the overalls, the overall generalities. So the beauty is that I'm going to be able to make this out of stuff that I have or paid very little money for, but I don't have to make another trip to the store. I found that I have 2 36-inch, they're metal, which, how do you find a metal zipper these days? I don't know. These have been I went through a recovering furniture slip covering mode for a while, and these are left over from that. Zipper. I already showed you the big reel of cording, so I cut a bunch of fabric on the bias. You know, I've commented before how much I love a bias binding or welting. So the stripes are, candy cane stripe now. And the way I did that is, again, you may not have this because you may not have a Bernina machine, but Bernina makes the number 12 foot or 12C foot, and it's actually their wide overlock foot or something like that, but it has this big groove in the bottom that rides right along. The cording will ride right in that groove beautifully, and you can move your needle over to the side, and it makes making cording / piping, whatever, so simple and easy, inserting it and making it. So, but you can do the same thing with your zipper foot. So I made approximately 8 yards of that. I measured his bed, and it is 32 inches by 36 inches. And so I cut 2 pieces of striped fabric, 37 by 33 inches, because I'm going to use 1/2-inch seam allowances. And the sides of, which I don't know where those went. I think I'm sitting on them. It's a deep cushion. It's 4 inches deep. So some 5-inch wide, like, pieces for the side. And I haven't seamed these together, but I'll get there. What I'm doing right now, what I just did, I'm gonna make this. This is the back, or the part that's going to have the zipper in it. So I just finished the seams, overlock the seams with the serger. I wasn't going to do that because I was like, whatever, I'm going to get the serger out. But then I was like, I don't want the little threads getting caught in the zipper and making it hard to unzip and put away. I also am going to be laundering this quite a bit, so I don't want it fraying. So that's what I'm going to do next is, I think I'm going to do the zipper and then figure out how much around, well, we'll do that. I'm kind of wing it when I do this kind of thing. There's a lot of math that can be done, I don't like math. So am I the only one remembers the Barbie thing about math is hard and all the blowback on Mattel for Barbie saying math is hard? Okay. Anyway, with all the stuff about Barbie right now, I'm surprised that didn't, like, I don't think that was part of the movie. Someone let me know. I can't remember. Anyhow, let's make a dog bed, shall we? So what I'm doing here, like I said, I finished the raw edges of this, and I am going to machine baste, and that basically is just a straight stitch at the longest setting, a 3/4 inch seam allowance seam here. Now, I had mentioned that my side pieces are going to be finished 4 inches, so they're cut at 5. Well, this one is where the zipper is going to go in, and you have to account for not only the 1/2 inch on this side, 1/2 inch seam allowance, but the 3/4 inch here. So this is basically a 6.5 inch wide piece of fabric split down the middle. So each side should be 3.25. This is wider than that. I'll trim it to the right size after I'm done. I'd rather trim a little bit away than have it too narrow. I've made that mistake before. Plus, I have the selvages here that I want to trim off anyway. So what I would normally do is go press this open, and I don't have my iron heated up. So I'm thinking I might be able to just finger press it open. And then I'm going to lay the zipper down, face down, and with the seam allowances open, face down, and sew along here, which is fundamentally top stitching from the other side. I gotta get this little staple out of there too. All right. I think I'm gonna do it this way, but I need to switch out my foot. All right. So I'm gonna put this in and not talk, but I think I need to change out my bobbin thread. So I'm gonna have to wind a bobbin and do some other things. So no need to watch me do that. Okay, so now I've sewn on both sides of the zipper teeth with my zipper foot from the wrong side, and so for all intents and purposes, it is top stitched from the front side, and you cannot see the stitches, which is kind of part of the point. And now what I am going to do is, the zipper is not openable, so I'm going to take my seam ripper and go down through where I did the where I basted that together there, and open that up quick. Now I have a minor problem, but it's a minor problem. I think I just cut a bunch of 5-inch wide strips when I was, cutting from the big roll, and these were the leftover at the end that weren't 5 inches. So I was like, oh, those are wide enough to make my zipper placket part. But I didn't really take into account that they're not quite long enough, but that's going to be okay. I'll make it work. It's not ideal, but I will make it work. So with all of the winter that we've had, again, I think I've said this the other day, I know that Alabama winter is not a Chicago winter. Hey, Lily. So, I'm not, all right, literally, we had a week of winter. But with the week of winter and then this week of spring that we've had that's been nothing but rain, I haven't really left the house much or left the lounge. And I was getting very stir crazy. And So Cass has gotten used to me just sitting on the couch or at the table in the lounge working on things. And now that I'm not, he's like, where are you? Why are you not in the other room? Okay, so now I have ripped out those and I can unzip this all the way. I am not going to unzip it all the way at this point. Okay, and I have a cat. So the next few steps that I'm going to do are, I am going to take these other strips and plus this strip. Well, I'm going to take this strip. No, wait. I'm going to math. And it's basically my finished circumference. Needs to be 32 plus 32, which is 64, plus 36 plus 36, which is 72. So 72, why don't I have a piece of paper? I mean, you've already done the math. I know you have. Because you all are smarter than me. I don't even have a piece of scrap paper here. What do I have? Right on the cat? Seriously. Seriously. I have so many little notepads. All right, we're going to take this little pattern piece from the jumper that I'm wearing. What did I just say? 36? No. 72, which is 36 plus 36. And then what was the other one? 32 plus 32, which is 64. So 130. I have to have 136 inches finished all the way around. But at some point I have to have, yeah. Now, what I am going to do, because I am making this up as I go along. This is not the first cushion I've ever made, but I'm still making this up as I go along. What I think I'm going to do, I'm going to go in the other room where I have a measuring thingy, and I'm going to see, because I just cut a bunch of 5-inch strips. So I don't know how long each of these are, and I have 4 of them. I think they're at least 36 inches long, so they're longer than I need. Oh, and I only need 3 of these because I have this one with the doodad, the zipper in it. So we're going to take it. So 3 of these plus the zipper one that I just did should go all the way around. So I'm going to finish the edges. Well, I'm going to finish the short edges and then seam them together. And I'm going to leave them open. Well, then, yes, I'm going to seam them together into one long thing that's however many, 100 and whatever I just said. And plus, always a little plus. And then I am going to finish overlock the long edges, including this one that's wider. So this one is that much wider on each side. Can you see it? Well, the stripes make it hard, but it's about, yeah, I knew it was going to be wider than I needed. I did that on purpose. So once it's seamed together, I can just follow the stripe and overlock, and then it'll be overlocked and the same width as the rest of these. And then all my parts are ready to go together. Well, one other thing I want to do, the cushion itself has softly rounded corners, and I don't want sharp corners. I mean, I could make a nice sharp cornered box pleat, but the cushion filler that's in it is soft and squishy. So I'm going to take these 2 rectangles that will be the top and the bottom of it and just take a marker and a curved edge, a water bottle, a plate, something round, and round off the edges on all 4 corners on both top and bottom, so that I just have rounded corners. And then I'm going to finish the raw edges of these pieces. So everything will have its overlocked raw edges, and then it's assembly time. Well, let's see if I can get this all done in one day. I have a friend coming over this evening I did some mending for him this morning, and he's going to come pick up his mending and have a cocktail. And don't get excited. I'm not dating. I am not dating. All the men I know in Selma play for the other team. So once again, I live my life with gay best friends. And that's a good life to live. Good way to live life, I say. All right. Again, I don't think you need to watch me do all this. I just told you what I was going to do. I should have shown you, but that makes it a 2-hour video that gets boring. So finish these edges, seam them. Oh yeah, let's take this puppy off. Done with the zipper. Well, I'm not completely done with the zipper foot. I don't know if I'm gonna use the zipper foot or this foot with the groove in the bottom to do my seaming. I've done it both ways. It works pretty well. We'll see which one works out best for this part, but we're gonna go back to foot number 1. So we can just seam these strips together to go around the base, the sides. Okay, see you in a bit. So when I finish edges like this, I run them through the serger as if I were chain piecing a quilt. Just, do one, add the other, and then I did all one side, and then I flipped around and did the other end. So this is like a big loopy loop, loop-de-loop. And then I just go through with my clippers and just snip between each one. And there's my zipper placket piece. And this one's still connected at this end. And the beauty of this fabric, there's no right or wrong side. And so you just, there might be, if you're really close in perspective, my dog is going to sleep and poop on these. So I'm not really that, going to be that precious about it. All right, so now the short ends are all seamed. I am going to seam I'm going to seam these short edges, and see, I'm just going to let that extra hanger over part of the zipper just not be in the seam, because I don't want to stitch over the metal of teeth, because I will guaranteed I will break a needle. So I am just going to fold that back and pin it or clip it. I think I've got a clip here out of the way so I don't accidentally get a hold of it, get it in the way. And I'm going to seam, actually I could flip this over and seam it the other way, but I'm going to find the middle. You can't see what I'm doing, sorry. Okay, let me show you. So I found the middle of the 5-inch one, right? And I lined that up with where the zipper center is. And now I'm just going to, another clip here. Boom, turn it around so you can see. I'm just going to do a 1/2 inch seam across there. And then I'm going to add these other 2 pieces onto the other end of the 5-inch wide, and then measure it to whatever measurement I just told you, plus 1 inch or whatever that I needed to do. Right? We did the math. And then connect the other end after I have. So then my circumference will be 136 inches. Right? Yeah. Yeah, that'll be right. And if it's not, we leave big seam allowances so we can scooch or we can take it in. We can do whatever we need to do. But this is how we're starting. Okay? Alrighty. Yeah, aren't you glad this isn't a tutorial? And I'm sorry. I apologize right now to everybody who said, oh, how to make a dog bed. Well, here we are. Oops. I'll get my machine doing what I wanted to do. Okay. I'm going to sew all those seams and then I'll show you the next step. Okay. So before I sew this measure it and sew it into that loop, I am now going to go to my serger, which is right there. And I'm going to overlock all these long raw edges. And when I get to these seams, I'm going to be sure that the seam allowances are open. And then when I get here to where I get to the zipper placket that I made wider than necessary, I'm going to pick a stripe and just serge off the excess. And then I don't have to go to the cutting mat and cut it. I'm just going to let the serger do the work. Another thing, just a little backup, that I like backed up and went back and forth over the seam right here at the end of where this zipper is, the end of the zipper, because opening and closing the zipper, there's a good chance that's going to get a little extra wear and tear there. So I didn't want it to come apart. But if it did, I just take it apart and come in here and sew it. All right, so again, you don't need to watch me do it. I'm just going to overlock those long edges, and then then I won't have all these strings and stuff. And then I'll go make sure this is 137 inches long, and then I'll sew it into a loop. And if it's 137 inches long, and I sew the last seam at a 1/2 inch, it should be 136 circumference when I'm done. And if I measured my other 2 pieces, did all my math, it should all fit together pretty well. Yeah. Okay. See you in a bit. Now, of course, the more logical way of making this edging is that the finished cushion is 36 by 32. So you could cut 2 pieces at 33, 5-inch wide pieces at 33 inches long, another piece at 37 inches long, and then make sure that your zipper part is 37 inches long. Sew them all together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and your seams will be at the corners, and you're good to go. I didn't do that because I just had the remainder. I had cut I can't remember how, I don't remember how wide that fabric is. I'm going to say it's 55 inches wide. So I cut 2 rectangles, 33 by 37 out of it. And then the remainder from like 33 to 60 or whatever it was, those pieces I just cut into 5-inch strips. So they are what they are. And then we're going to make this work. So the seams where the different pieces come together may or may not end up at the corner, and it doesn't matter because, one, I got lucky and my stripes match pretty much perfectly on, well, this one doesn't, but that one does. And it's a dog bed, so it doesn't matter. If I were doing this for a couch cushion or a slip cover or something that, was nicer, I would do it. Actually, I would make sure that the front piece wrapped all the way around 3/4 of it, and then the back piece came around the other other part of it. And would try not to seam it at all. But I was trying to conserve fabric. I don't know why I have 80 yards of this stuff, but it's just in my nature to conserve fabric and make my cutting as simple as possible. So that's why I did it this way. So if you want like the seams at the corners, or I could, instead of having the stripes go this way, the long way around the cushion, I could have cut it so that they ran up and down. I could have cut it crosswise of the fabric, and probably only had to cut 2 with the fabric and still had plenty. So I could have done that way and there wouldn't have been any seaming. But again, I was trying to conserve as much fabric as I could because that's what I do. So, okay, I'm going to go measure this. So probably the way I did it, even though cutting-wise it was quicker, sewing together-wise might make it a little harder because I can't just take the 4 pieces and seam them with 1/2 inch seam allowances and know the math is going to work. But that's okay. It's going to work anyway. Okay, I'm going to go this and cut my corners, round my corners on these 2 pieces. So I'll be back. And then I'm going to put it all together and it's going to be like, boom, it's a bed. Okay, so here we are. Both of my top and bottom piece have had the corners rounded and the edges overlocked. It's a 3-thread wide overlock. And I mean, I happen to have gray, but it really didn't matter. It could be any color. So now I'm going to, and I think I seamed this into a circle that is the proper size. We will now find out. Now there's a couple ways I can do this to insert the welting into the edge here. One I could go around and machine baste it down all the way around, right sides together, you know, raw edges together, and then add this part and sew it all together. I'm going to see if I can do it all in one step by putting the wide overlock or cording. It's not a cording foot. I have a cording foot. It's different than this. I'm not going to go in, you know, get in the weeds about Bernina and their different feet. I happen to love them, but if you don't have one, put your zipper foot on so you can get as close to the edge as possible and, you know, move your needle over as far as possible. All right, I'm going to wind another bobbin and we're going to put this all together and keep our fingers crossed. It's rectangles. Now, again, if you wanted to make one of these for your animal or your couch, you know, well, your porch swing cushion, which I'm going to do later, you don't have to do the corded welting or whatever you call it. You don't have to do that. I'm doing it because I have a ton of fabric to make it with, and I have a whole reel of the cording to make it with. But just, it's a fine thing to just have a box edge pleat, box edge cushion. Yeah, not a pleat. A box pleat's a whole different thing. We're not making skirts. Anyway, you can do it without this. On things like slip covers and chair cushions and things that are going to get a lot of wear and tear, this does help to take the wear, like make it wear longer, and just gives a nice little finished edge. But you don't have to have it, so don't feel like, oh, I can't make a nice looking dog bed if I don't have this. You can make a perfectly good dog bed. And another thing, if you don't have already a big existing dog bed like I do with all the fluff in it, chopped up fluff, whatever it is. Do you have old t-shirts, old sweatshirts, old sheet, you know, any bits of old fabric? If you're a sewer like I am and you have just bunches of, I'm going to fall out of my chair, you know, this stuff, like from your serger, cabbage, as they call it. From my house. What you doing out there, people? Okay. If you have a bunch of that, make a big cotton bag and stuff it full of all of old socks, old t-shirts, old underwear. Your dog will love the fact that it's all your old clothes because it will smell like you and it will make him happy. Trust me on that. And like make an inner cushion. Basically a big pillowcase, whatever size your dog is, stuffed full of all those waste fabrics that you were going to throw away anyway. Sew it up, and now you have a bed. And then you make a cover out of whatever. Okay, you want to continue to save fabric and like reuse, make it sustainable. You have a whole bunch of old blue jeans. Cut the blue jeans apart and sew them together like in a crazy quilt type thing, like till you get a big piece of fabric that's big enough to make a dog bed out of. Ta-da! You don't have to make the box edge. You don't have to make this edging and make it a box cushion. The one he has is like that, and so that's, and I have all the stuff to make it, so that's how I'm making it. But you could just make it like a big pillowcase closed up at the end. Don't want to put in a zipper, don't know how to put in a zipper, don't have a zipper, but you got some Velcro, make it close, overlap by however wide the Velcro is, and put the Velcro in there and Velcro it closed. Okay, there's somebody outside. They're not in my yard. All right, there's a house for sale next door, so this happens, and it just makes me not nervous, but I'm just nosy. It just makes me nosy. Okay, anyway, so easy ways to make dog beds. Or you have some old, that's what I was going to do until I said, oh, I got all this fabric. I have some old like fleece, like airline blankets, or just random fleece blankets that, I don't know. I don't need as many throw blankets. Plus you've seen how many quilts I have and how many Afghans. I don't think I've shown you the Afghans. Have I shown you the crocheted and knitted Afghans that I have? Because that's a whole other level of, I'm never going to be cold. That's why my house can be at 62 degrees all January, because I have Afghans. Anyway, I had these old blankets. I'm like, oh, I can make a dog bed out of these old blankets. But then I decided I wanted something that was easier to wash and get. I don't want anything with a nap or pile, because he poops the bed. That's just where it's at. He poops the bed. He doesn't know he's doing it, and he stands up and it falls out. We've had this conversation. So I want something that's easy to clean, that it's just going to roll off like a duck's back. With the idea of my dog pooping on a duck's back, but you get the idea, right? So, but if your dog doesn't poop the bed on a regular basis and wants a little softer, fluffier, then get some old blankets. Go to Goodwill, Salvation Army, thrift stores. See what kind of fabric you can find there. Drapery panels. You want a little bit more of a luxurious dog bed. Your dog is a little more precious than my dog. Get some beautiful brocade, or like the curtains I have in the parlor that are that velour stuff, and make them a princess bed out of that. There's so many ways that you can make a very cheap dog bed or cat bed or floor cushion, whatever. There you go. I'm going to finish mine, and then I might show you how I'm going to put if it works, if my idea works, I'll show you how I'm putting the cording into the seam and all that jazz. But I got to wind a bobbin and see if it works first before I show you, okay? And then I'll finish it. And as I like to say, Bob's your uncle. We got a new bed. All right. Okay. I haven't started trying this yet, but I think it's going to work. Anyway, so what I did to figure out how this is going to go in here, I found the center back of the long side of my cushion cover, and I put a pin in it. And then I found the center of the zipper placket piece, and I matched those centers up. And now I'm going to go about 3 or 4 inches away from that center, and I'm going to leave extra tail of my cording piece, and I'm going to sandwich the cording piece. So I have, this is the backing piece, this is the cover, this is the cording, and then this is the placket, the band that's going to go around, right, with the zipper, right? This is the part with the zipper in it. Again, it's sewn in a circle. Hopefully it's the right size. I'm going to sandwich those 3 items together, quote unquote, raw edges. I got to get it so it's not sliding off my lap. There we go. Okay, raw edges together, although my edges are not raw because I overlocked them just to make this neat. And I'm going to put just a pin in there just to hold everything together while I get it under the presser foot. Okay, hopefully you can see this. Okay, I'm going to get this in position. I'm going to get that pin out of there so I'm accidentally sew over it. And I'm going to take a stitch or 2. Okay, raw edge, and okay. Now, just kind of get everybody where they're supposed to be, maybe. Okay, this is the fiddliest part of the whole deal. Could I go around and clip and or pin these? Yes, I could, but I'm not going to. All right, I'm going to go back, finish around here, and I don't think I have anything else to teach you here about this, because when I do this part, it's the same thing onto the other side. The only thing I have to remember to do when I sew the other bottom or top on is that I open my zipper so that I can turn this thing right side out when I'm all done. Okay? Okay, I lied. I don't have a finished one to show you, but in the essence of full disclosure, and transparency here, let me show you my mistake. I made the error in thinking that when I cut this, that I cut it that the long side would be, you know, that the stripes would be going from short end to short end. And I didn't. It's longer this way. This is the 36-inch side. And this is the 32-inch side. Well, why is that a problem? Because I put the 36-inch zipper placket on the short side. And so it goes around the corner there, but it doesn't quite start at the corner here. It was a kerfuffle. It's in, it works, and I will be able to get the bed in and out. Now, again, if I were making this for someone else, if I were making this for a couch cushion or slip cover or something, I would take it apart and I would do it the right way with the zipper along the long side. But it's for my dog. We've said that. But I just want to show you how nicely that covered cording, welting, whatever it's called. Welting, I think is the proper term. Looks along there and the curved edges. So also, I think, I was debating because of this error that I made, and also even mathing, I ended up with quite a bit extra overlap. But what I did with it, maybe rounding the corners took off just that much, couple inches, extra inches. That's probably where it is. Anyway, what I did was I just ripped out the first 6 and 8 inches, over here, what I did. And because I also needed to begin and end, connect the welting. So this side, I ended up sewing the welting onto the back, the main fabric, and then sewing this on, the gusset, if you will. Worked great. I'm debating doing that on the top piece, but I think now that I have this gusset piece, the right length, it should go together without a problem. I'm going to unzip the zipper a little more. Oh, but I wanted to show you. Can you tell where I joined my welting? No, you cannot. I didn't show you how I did it, but doing that on a single layer was way easier than doing it while trying to insert it into the seam at the same time. So just wanted to show you that I made the mistake that I didn't mismeasure. I think it's still the right size, finished size, but I thought this was the long end and this is the short end. Right? Yeah, I mean, it's almost a square, but it's just 4 inches longer this way. And so the zipper should be along this side and it's not. If I make another one, which I think I will, because I have another zipper and I have plenty of fabric and plenty of welting, and then that way when he dirties one, you can just take one off and put the other one on, and I can throw away the old one that's getting nasty. So when I make another one, the other one will be correct. I guarantee it. And then I have a whole bunch of outdoor cushions to make. I have 2 chair and a little love seat cushion for some wicker furniture I found on Marketplace last fall. For the front porch to make, I have the porch swing, needs to be painted, but then I have a cushion for that I want to make. And then the new swing, not new swing, the reconstructed swing in the backyard needs a cushion. And in this factory clean out dealio, I got enough cushions and fabric to cover all of those. But see, I started with something that it didn't matter if I did it right perfectly the first time, and I can make all my mistakes. And then now when I make those, I am not going to put zippers in those. I am either going to do an overlapping like envelope closure on the underside that I can just shove the things in. I think that's what I'm going to do. Or I'm going to do Velcro, depending on which cushion it is and how thick the cushion is and what. But I do believe I am going to do them gusseted like this. So with cording. Now I am going to finish this. Okay, here's the big reveal. There is the finished dog bed. Cass, you want to try it out? What do you think? Oh, well, I guess that seems like it works. So much cleaner and fresher. Now he's got these pads here to protect the rug. And as you can see, they mainly protect it from all of his hair. But these are washable pee pads. So if you've got a puppy or an old dog or any other critter in your house that you need to put down pee pads for, these are amazing because you can wash them and reuse them and not throw away all the time. Ta-da! New dog bed. Show you some of the detail. You can see the piping. And this one is nice too, versus the one that was on there originally. Is the one that was on there originally had like this really, I don't know, weird. The bottom of it wasn't reversible. You couldn't flip the bed over. The top was the plushy side, and the bottom was like just this weird lining kind of yucky fabric. So this one now I can flip it over if it just gets dirty but not soiled. You know what I mean? But now that I've made one and I've learned my lessons, figured out what to do right and what to do wrong, I can make another one, and the next one will be even better, and then we can swap them out. So, but I think based on his reaction, we have successfully made the bed for the dog. Cass and I want to thank you for joining us in making his new bed, and hope you come back again, another day, another project, quite often. So anyway, I am just so glad to have you with me, and I hope you enjoyed this project. I think Cass enjoyed this project. So we'll see you next time. Toodles. Bye.